Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Power Rangers Season 1, Episode 18 of my show, but this is gonna cover all of the 5 parts of the Green with Evil 5-part saga. That's why I've been doing... But before I actually start talking about it, I just want to mention that's why I've been doing a couple of videos, videos each week up until this point, because I knew that's why I did one video last week, because I knew I was going to be having to do one video which was going to cover all 5 parts of the Green with Evil 5-part episode. So I wanted to get that out of the way there. And to be honest, I would have did this video last weekend, but I didn't quite get the chance to, so I'm doing it now. So this is going to be a very, maybe a little bit of a longer video than most of my History of Power Rangers videos, because it's going to cover all 5 parts of the Green with Evil 5-part saga. I just thought I'd get that out of the way. Now, the first part this is going to cover is part 1, so it's going to cover parts 1 through 5. Now, continuing on, this is History of Power Rangers Season 1, Episode 18 of my show, but like I said, this is going to cover all 5 parts of the Green with Evil 5-part saga, so this is going to start with Episode 1. Part 1 of the Green with Evil 5-part episode starts at episode 17 and goes till episode 21. So that'll make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos combined into one. So from episode 17 to about episode 21. So I will put that in the description for the video. I just thought I'd get that out of the way there. I just thought I'd get that out of the way, and I'm going to do that same process when I do a 4-part episode as well. But when I do a 2 or 3-part episode, I'm going to do the videos separately, because with a 2 or 3-part episode, I feel if it's a 2 or 3-part episode, I'll just do 2 separate videos each time. But if it's a multi-part video, like above that, like if it's a 4 or 5-part episode, then I'll condense them into one video. But anyway, enough getting off topic. This is History of Power Rangers Season 1, Episode 18 of my show. But this is going to cover, like I said, this is going to cover all 5 episodes of the Green with Evil 5-part saga, which, as I said, I'll put in the description for the video. So this is going to cover episodes 17 to 21. So, starting with part 1 of this Green with Evil 5-part episode. Before I do start it, though, officially before I do start it, I just want to mention this very, very quickly. This first part of the 5-part episode that I'm going to be talking about for this multi-part episode is going to be covering the appearance of a new character who is going to be kind of the antagonist for this 5-part episode. I just thought I'd get that out of the way. Okay, now, the way part 1 of the 5-parter starts off is, it starts off in the school, and basically, well, what happens is first, it starts off in the youth center, and Jason is preparing for a karate match, and then Zach is telling him to concentrate and keep his mind focused on the tournament at hand. And then basically, Jason says thanks. Oh, I should mention this. This first part of the 5-part episode the beginning part of this episode takes place with the Angel Grove Martial Arts Expo, so that's why there's a little bit of a martial arts tournament going on in the youth center in this episode. I just thought I'd get that out of the way there. And then Jason said he thanks his friends because it looks like he's going to need all the help that he can get. And then Zach looks over at, but now that I've gotten into it where Tommy's character shows up, I am going to get back to the actual video, but I am going to do like a little bit of a minor character bio on Tommy's character for this series. I guess I could have did it when I did the character bio video for the first season, but I didn't want to bother because of the fact that he didn't show up until this multi-part episode. So what I am going to do is now I'm just going to get off topic from the original storyline of the episode just to give you guys a sort of character bio video on Tommy's character just very quickly, and then I'll get back into it. Now, Tommy Oliver's character in the original Power Rangers series will last through most of the Zordon era and in 2 series of the post-Zordon era. Now, what I mean by most of the Zordon era and 2 series in the post-Zordon era is because what I mean is he'll last for this entire first season and the entire second and third season and season 4 and about part way through season 5. So that's about, let's see, the rest of season 1 plus season 2, season 3, season 4, and half of season 5. So that's about 5.5 seasons in the Zordon era that he will be in. And he will be in one of 2 Power Rangers series in the post-Zordon era, but the first one that he's in the post-Zordon era will sort of be a cameo because of the fact that it's a special anniversary episode of Power Rangers. Now, what I mean by special anniversary episode, the season that he's going to show up in the post-Zordon era first is going to be at that point in time, it's going to be the 10th season for the franchise. And so this is what Saban did for that series. What they did was when they did the 2002 Power Rangers series, which was Wild Force, they did a special anniversary episode, which kind of featured the 10 different Red Rangers from the previous series. I won't say which series because I want to save talking about those series for later, but I just wanted to mention that ahead of time. And he will show up again for one more season in the post-Zordon era, which will be I won't tell you the season name, but I will tell you the season number. It'll be season number 12 of Power Rangers. But that's going to be it. But so for the rest of this series, he's going to be at least for this season, he's going to be the Green Ranger. And then, at least for the beginning of the second season, he's going to be the Green Ranger in that series. But then the rest of the series after that, for the Zeo, for the rest of season 2, he's going to be the Mighty Morphin White Ranger, and the entire season 3, he's going to be the Mighty Morphin White Ranger, and he's going to be the Red Ranger in the entire Zeo series, and the first half of the Turbo series, which is season 5. But I'll explain why about those. I'll explain why about Turbos, why he's only the Red Ranger for the first half of the series when I get to that. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Anyway, then Zach is looking off at where Tommy is, and he said, man, that dude is pumped, and he wonders who he is. And then Trini says that he must be, she doesn't know, he must be some new kid in school, and then Kimberly says that he's actually kind of cute. Now, this is the funniest thing about the series. You see, the series actually for the first 2 seasons of the original series, Tommy Oliver will sort of, his character, who was played by Jason David Frank, his character will be sort of the love interest for the Pink Ranger's character, which will be for the rest of this first season until a 2-part episode called The Green Candle. And then he won't show up again until the Doomsday episode, which I believe is part 2 of that. And then he will show up again for the rest of season 3 season 1 after the Return of the Old Friend 2-part episode. Now that I mentioned that Return of an Old Friend 2-part episode, I just want to mention something. Every single video after those is going to be 1 single episode each. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 separate videos each after this video, and it's going to be 2 separate videos even for those 2-parters, but it's going to be 1 on separate days, just so that there's a little bit of a gap in between when I post and record my next video and before I post and record the next one. I just thought I'd get that out of the way. Anyway, then the announcer is saying that coming up, a karate competition featuring Angel Grove's finest and a new challenger. And then after that, Rita's looking off in the distance, like she's looking through a repulsoscope, which, as I stated, is her version of a telescope, at the Earth, and she sees the Green Ranger. She's like, "Ooh, did you see that guy? He'll make a perfect Green Ranger." And then Babu is surprised by that, and he says that, "Huh? You mean one of their own kind?" And then Goldar says, "Of course." And he says that it's how brilliant the Power Rangers defeated by another teenager. Oh my god, I'm sorry, but that's kind of hilarious. And then basically what happens is Rita says that she's such a genius, and then her minions and her walk off, and then Babu says that basically he can't wait to see how Rita's gonna pull this off. And then it goes into back with the Rangers when Jason is having his karate match against Tommy, and basically what happens is they fight evenly in the match, and so much so that the match ends in a draw, like a score of 4 points each. And then after that, after the match is finished, Jason is kind of a little depressed that he didn't win the match, and then Trini is basically, she's telling him that in karate, it's the discipline in which you perform that makes it all the more worthwhile. And then basically what happens is Jason says that he knows, and he tells them that he's gonna take a shower, and then he'll meet them at the juice bar and stuff. And then after that, they go to leave while they wait for Jason at the juice bar, part of the Angel Grove Youth Center. And then Kimberly's looking at Tommy, and then in the series, and basically Trini is telling Kimberly that he looks kind of cute, doesn't he? And then basically Trini said that maybe she'll see him at school tomorrow, and then it continues on into the next scene where they're at the school, and then Kimberly's trying to get her stuff out of her locker, and basically Vulcan and Skull show up, and then Skull is telling Kimberly that they need a big strong man to help her carry those books, and then she says that she doesn't need her help, and then they try to force their way into helping her, and then Tommy basically interrupts them by telling them, didn't they hear the lady? She said no, and then Punk says, well, what happens basically is Bulk says that Kimberly needs to be taught a lesson, and then basically Tommy says that didn't they hear the lady? She said no, and then basically what happens is Bulk says that it seems like someone else needs to be taught a lesson, and then Bulk did, and then Tommy does these karate movements which kind of scare Bulk and Skull, which causes them to leave Kimberly alone. And basically what happens is after that, Kimberly's introducing herself to Tommy, and then she asks that he's new in school, and she asks him if she wants to hang out with her and her friends, like nothing major, at the youth center after school and stuff, and he said that's okay. And then he said that he'll see her later at the youth center, and basically then he starts walking off with some friends of his, and then he meets up with another person at the other. Then he's walking home with some friends of his, and then he breaks off from the group. And then later on, what happens before that is Rita says that Tommy will come under her spell when she calls upon the power of the 6th power coin, which is the green power coin. Basically what happens is, she does this chant, and then she says that Tommy will become her evil Green Ranger when she faces her, after he faces her putties in a test. And basically, then the putties start attacking him, and then he manages to beat them. And after he beats them, he says that was like a bad dream. Actually, well, first what happens is after he beats them, he says that, man, why him? And then Rita says that basically, Rita said that basically, yes, this boy is truly the one that'll become her evil Green Ranger. And then basically what happens is, then Tommy said that was like a bad dream, and then somehow, I think it's as a rejection, because I don't really think Rita left the palace, but I think it's as a projection that she showed up on Earth, I'm not sure. And basically, well, I think she did leave the moon temporarily, and Tommy says that was like a bad dream. And then after he says that, Rita tells him that she has chosen him. And then basically what happens is after that, she teleports him to the dark dimension, and then she puts him under a spell. And after he's under the spell, he asks her to how could he serve his Empress. And then basically Rita tells him that as a Ranger, he can now enter the command center. There he'll disable Zordon and then eliminate the Power Rangers. And then she tells Tommy and the Rangers, which is Jason, which is the Red Ranger who he fought in the competition, Zach, the Black Ranger, Billy the Blue Ranger, Kimberly the Pink Ranger, and Trini the Yellow Ranger. And then after that, what happens is then it goes into a side scene where Zordon and Alpha are in the command center, and then Alpha says that he might miss out, and then Zordon tells him would he please take this opportunity to recharge while he places himself in a meditative state. And then Alpha says that Zordon's right, of course. And then basically what happens is, then it goes back to where Rita is with Tommy, who's hypnotized. And she tells him to now morph into the Green Ranger. And then while he's in his Green Ranger form, he says, to the fall of Zordon and the destruction of the Power Rangers. And then he teleports to the command center. And then Rita's voice in an echoey thing is telling him he knows what to do. And he says that her wish is his command. And then afterward, while Alpha is recharging, he's like, alert, alert, hostile takeover. And then Tommy says, sweet dreams, Tinhead. And then Zordon says that he wonders how did someone get in here? Because only one who has a power coin can enter the command center undetected. And then Tommy, who's hypnotized, says that yes, he has the coin and the power, and there's nothing he can do to stop him. And then basically what happens is, oh, but before I continue, I should just mention this ahead of time. When he put Alpha out of commission, he also put a virus disk into his computer systems, which was his functions. And then the reason why I mentioned that is because that's going to play a little bit of a hand in when he contacts them again. I just thought I'd get that out of the way. Anyway, continuing on with what I was saying. After Tommy, like I said, who's hypnotized, tells Zordon that he has the coin and the power and there's nothing he can do to stop him. And then Zordon says that so Rita has finally chosen someone to give the green power coin to. Because apparently in this part of the series, Zordon and Alpha only had the first 5 of the 6 power coins. I don't know how Rita got her hand on it. I really don't know. It's never really explained how she got her hand on the 6th power coin. That's the reason why I don't know. It's because it's never really explained as to how she got her hand on it. So basically, I thought I just did mention that. And then afterward, Tommy, who's hypnotized, tells Zordon that he is Rita's Green Ranger and she is his queen. And then basically what happens is Zordon tries to convince Tommy that he's under an evil spell and let him help. He can save him. And then Tommy said that worried about saving himself. Oh man, and then he starts pulling all these gizmos out of the command center. Now I got to the part where he pulls the circuitry out of the command center's computer boards, I just want to mention this very quickly. This scene will get referenced once again, but not until Season 3, specifically a 3-part episode in Season 3. I'm not going to mention which 3-part episode because I want to save that for later when I get to the season. I just wanted to mention that ahead of time a little bit. I just figured since this scene will get referenced again, I just figured I'd mention it. And then afterward, Zordon said he tries to convince Tommy while he's pulling the stuff out that he doesn't know what he's doing. And then he says that he's losing power, losing his orientation, losing contact with his with the Ranger's dimension. And then Tommy, no. And then basically afterward, he leaves the command center, and then basically what happens is after that, the Rangers in their human forms are after Kimberly and Trini meet up with Zach, Jason, and Billy with the rad bug. Zach tries to convince them to get clean and help them clean the rad bug to get it shiny, and then basically what happens is after that, basically Kimberly says that she doesn't want to because it's about Tommy, and then basically Jason is saying about the guy that he fought in the competition, and Kimberly said that basically he was supposed to show up at the youth, meet them after school in the youth center in the series, but he never showed. And then Zach said that maybe something came up. And then they get contacted on the communicators, and then when Alpha's contacting him, he starts talking like a little stuttery. I think it's because of the computer virus that was placed in his circuitry. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. And then when they find out that teleportation is down, they have to take the rad bug, which, as I stated in the previous episode, they take the rad bug to the command center to find out what happened. And then when they get to the command center, while they're on their way to the command center, Kimberly said that Alpha's, I can't remember if it's Kimberly or Trini, but I think it might be Kimberly or it might be Trini, but one of them said that Alpha sounded upset, and then they enter the command center, and they see that it's really trashed and stuff, and then basically what happens is, after that, they find Alpha when he has the computer virus in his systems. Whoa. But before I continue with that, I'm just going to backtrack to Rita's character very quickly before I end part 1 of this 5-part, multi-part episode, which, like I said, I'm going to do one long video for you guys so I can cover all 5 parts, but I just wanted to backtrack here very quickly. Actually, I don't think I'm going to backtrack, but after Tommy, who's hypnotized, leaves the command center, Rita said that now for an even bigger surprise, and then basically Squat says that with Zordon out of the way, it's only a matter of time before Rita controls the whole world. And then Goldar tells Rita that he's ready. So she throws her magic wand down on the ground to make Goldar grow. And then basically what happens after that is and then it goes to where the Rangers are in the command center. And then after they free Alpha from the virus, they're wondering what happened. And then Alpha tells them that his memory chips are scrambled, no recollection, he was barely able to contact them. And then they find out about Goldar attacking the city. And then they wonder if Alpha's going to be okay to locate Zordon. And he says that he's semi-operational, so they have to take care of Goldar. So he makes the plan for them to take care of Goldar while he tries to locate Zordon. And then they morph into their Ranger forms. And then and then after they show up where Goldar and Squad and Babu are, Squad is telling Rita that the Power Rangers are here. Bring on the Putty Patrol. And then he basically tells them that this is going to be fun. Go get him, Goldar. And then the Rangers say that they've got to stop Goldar. So they call in the Dinosaurs and they fight him in the Megazord. But then after they fight him for a little bit in the Megazord, the Green Ranger shows up, who's a mystery to them because they don't know that it's really Tommy who's hypnotized. Because this is the first part of this 5-part episode. So they don't know that it's really Tommy that they're actually fighting. But they will find out later on when I get to the next couple of parts that I am going to be talking about in this long video. I just thought I'd get that out of the way. And then after, basically what happens is while they're fighting Goldar, he tells them to prepare to suffer the wrath of Rita Repulsa. And then basically he disappears and then the Green Ranger shows up. And then he boards the Megazord. And then after he boards it, he says, "Long live Empress Rita." And then he manages to destroy, like trash their Megazord and stuff. And then afterward they manage to get back to the command center. And then Zach is asking Alpha what if Zordon is back online yet. And then Alpha said that he's not. And then Zach said that they need him because a guy in a Green Ranger suit just went up and trashed their Zords, and they're wondering if he knows who he was, and he said that he isn't. And then after he said that he doesn't, the virus that the Green Ranger put into his system acts up again, and then he says, "Quasitronic circuitry now in overload, temporary shutdown. And then the Rangers are basically saying that well, Zach says that if Rita's doing it behind this, she's done some major damage. And then basically what happens after that is they're wondering how to deal with the Green Ranger because, and then Jason said to protect themselves because they don't have Zordon to help them this time. And basically what happens is then they say that they just made it through round 1 of what is about to be a major battle. Well, he said that they probably just made it through round 1, which is of what is about to be a major battle. And then Billy tells the others to look at the viewing globe. And then the Green Ranger, who is Tommy, said that to the fall of the Power Rangers, he'll destroy them one and all. And then basically what happens is that ends part 1. Now I'm going to get into part 2. So basically what happens in part 2 is it carries over from where part 1 left off, except this. So basically what happens in part 2 is after, when the Rangers are in the command center, basically what happens is Billy and Trini are trying to fix Alpha up. And then Trini is asking Billy to be careful not to hurt Alpha. And then Billy says that for Trini to trust him because even if he got... Well, first what happens is after they are back in the command center, Zordon is, after they find out that Zordon is still offline, and without Zordon, I have no idea who that Green Ranger was that attacked them. And then basically what happens is, after that, is they manage, Trini and Billy manage to free Alpha from the virus permanently. And then afterward, Jason said that Alpha may be okay, but they still need to find out a way to get Zordon back and figure out the story with that Green Ranger. And basically what happens after that is then it goes... Now here's the funny thing with Alpha's character in this part of the multi-part episode. When he's actually back online, he said do that and stuff. And then basically, I just wanted to get that. And then Rita's up in her palace and she's working on the next step in her plan to destroy the Rangers and stuff. And then Goldar makes the suggestion for the Green Ranger to get his hands on the Sword of Darkness. And then Rita says that's a perfect idea. And then she goes over to Finster and she tells Finster that she wants him to give Green Ranger the evil Sword of Darkness, and he does remember it. Now that I've gotten into it about the Sword of Darkness thing, I just wanted to mention this very quickly, because this kind of got referenced back in episode 10, back when I did episode 11 of my show, but about episode 10, so... basically Rita says that basically Finster does remember the Sword of Darkness, and then Finster says he does, and then what happens is after that, he tells her that when her evil knight defeated defeated Zordon soldiers thousands of years ago, it was taken from him and presented to her as a prize. If she gives the Sword of Darkness to Green Ranger, it has the power to keep him under her spell forever, as long as no one destroys it. But the problem is that Zordon knows the sword's secrets. And Rita says that that's true, he does, but he's gone. Because that makes sense, because if you guys remember back in the previous episode, well, I should say the previous part of this 5-part episode, because I'm making this one long video, because as I said, if I didn't make it one long video, it would still take me very, very long to do it, because even if I did 2 separate videos each, that still would take too long. So that's why I'm doing one video now to cover all 5 parts, just to get it over and done with. And I won't be doing that in any of Season 2, but I'll be doing it in Season 3, though. But I just thought I'd get that out of the way. Anyway, continuing on with what I was saying, afterward, Rita has Tommy, who's hypnotized, remain on Earth until further notice, and then he says when he's under her spell, whatever pleases her Empress, and then basically, she tells Tommy to remember to keep his identity as the Green Ranger a secret. No one must know the truth. And after she leaves, Bulk and Skull show up where Tommy is, and then Bulk is wanting Tommy to apologize, and then after that he shoots these weird green lasers out of his eyes. I think that's because of the fact that he's hypnotized. And then basically what happens after that is basically what happens after that is after they get zapped into the dumpster, like into it, Skull wonders what's with Tommy, what's with that guy, and then basically Bulk says that he doesn't know, but maybe he should have his eyes checked. And then it goes into where they're in the school, and then where they're in the school, and then Kimberly is asking Tommy what happened to him after school. She thought that they were gonna meet and stuff. And then basically what happens after that is he said that something came up, and after they have a little bit of an argument when he's under Rita's spell, Rita said that it's working, and once he has the Sword of Darkness, he'll be hers forever. Because as Finster stated previously when I did this next part, he told Rita that as if she gave the Sword of Darkness to Green Ranger, it'll have the power to put Tommy and keep him under her spell forever as long as it doesn't get broken. And then basically what happens is Goldar basically says that the Sword of Darkness is something he must earn. And he says that it tests their strength against the putties. And then Babu is saying, gosh and golly. Babu said that that's a good idea. Can they go watch it? And then Rita said that yes, they'll all go down to Earth together and watch Green Ranger test. So they go down to Earth. And then basically what happens is she tells her minions that she can't wait to see her Ranger. And then basically, after Tommy, who's hypnotized, shows up, Babu tells Rita that the Green Ranger awaits her command. And then he said that she has summoned him. He is at his services, her services. And he asks her if it's time to finally crush the Power Rangers. And then Goldar tells him, patience. He must first meet a challenge. Using only his skills and no weapons, he will face the putties. And if he succeeds, he'll get the Sword of Darkness. And then basically what happens is, after that, Rita tells him that, is he prepared? And she says, now to do battle. And then basically what happens is, Tommy, who's hypnotized, says that basically, come on buddies, who wants to be first? And then he keeps fighting them until he beats them. And then Rita and Goldar are kind of cheering him on a bit. And then after he defeats the last putty, he does this little evil laugh. And then he says that she commands and he obeys his Empress. And then she says that, yes, you have done it. You have earned the Sword of Darkness. And but before she gives it, after she said that basically, after he's passed the test, Babu is kind of congratulating him by saying, welcome to the club, Bucko. And then she gives Tommy the Sword of Darkness. And then basically what happens after that is, and then basically what happens after that is after he receives the Sword of Darkness, he does this other laugh, and then he said that basically the Power Rangers will be destroyed and the Red Ranger will be the first to fall. And then basically what happens after that And then basically what happens after that is it goes into a scene where Tommy, who's still hypnotized, is in the school, and basically what happens is, well, Jason is kind of looking for him. Because they want to use the rad bug to get to the command center so they can keep fixing the command center so they can locate Zordon. And then basically what happens is Jason's asking around about Tommy and where he is, and then he finds him, and then he says that he knows that he promised that they work out a little later, but something just came up. Can he take a rain check? And then he said that sure, he understands. And then he uses the power of the green power coin to zap Jason, which transports him to Rita's dark dimension. Oh my god. And then basically what happens after that is Jason, but before he arrives in the dark dimension, Tommy, who's still hypnotized, said that one down, four to go. And then basically what happens after that is, Jason gets transported to the dark dimension, and then he tries to contact the command center, but then Goldar says that his communicator won't work in there. He must face them all alone. And then he tries to go behind his back to grab his power morpher, but then Goldar, I don't know how, but somehow Goldar gets his hands on it. And then basically what happens after that is, he says, looking for this. And then after Jason, Kimberly and Zach are still waiting for Jason because they don't know what happened to him. They take the rad bug to go to the command center so that they could fix Zordon up and try to get him back online. Try to get the computers online for searching for Zordon. And then basically what happens after that is that while they're flying in the rad bug toward the command center, Zach tells Kimberly to cheer up because Billy and Alpha will find a way to get Zordon back. And then Kimberly says that it's not just that, it's Tommy. And then
oh, you're recording? I didn't know.
okay, it's okay.
I'll come back later.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
And then basically what happens after that is Zach said that he gave her the cold shoulder, and she said that it's like he's kind of changed and stuff. And then and then basically what happens after that is while they're and then Zach said that they got a little bit more important things to worry about than that right now. And then they arrive back at the command center, and then they try to locate Zordon again. And then basically what happens is afterward, now getting back into it with Jason, after he was transported to the dark dimension, he tries to use his communicator to contact the others, but then Goldar shows up and he tells him that his communicator won't work in the dark dimension and he must face them all alone. And then basically what happens is after that, basically what happens after that is he tries to go behind his back to look for his morpher, but he can't find it. And then Goldar says that, is he looking for that? And then, which is his power morpher, and he said that he wants his power morpher now, and then he said, and Goldar said that now he's demanding, soon he'll be begging, and then basically what happens after that is, and then it goes back into, I'm sorry, I'm just branching out here with the stuff because there's a lot of stuff that happens in this 5-parter, like in the last couple of parts of this 5-part episode, so I'm branching between each one of the parts, like, I'm branching between what happens back and forth, and afterward, when they try to locate Zordon again, they realize that the Green Ranger is back, and then Zack says that now their chance to nail him and find out what's going on. And then basically what happens is after that, Kimberly says that they need Jason, and Zack tries to contact him, but he can't because the communicators are still not working. So basically what happens then is, Zack tells Alpha to try to contact Jason and have them meet him at the bluff. And then basically what happens is after that, they morph into their Ranger forms to fight the Green Ranger. And then basically afterward, the Green Ranger said that, alright Power Rangers, now I'll destroy you. And then basically they call on their individual Zords and they form the Megazord somehow, and without Jason. And then basically what happens after that, I think it's because the Tyrannosaurus Zord is put on remote because Jason's not there. Anyway, basically what happens after that is they manage to keep fighting the Green Ranger, and then the Green Ranger shoots a blast of energy from both his Dragon Dagger and the Sword of Darkness. And then the Rangers manage to... Actually, what happens is before they actually form the Megazord, they fight the Green Ranger using the Sword of Darkness. And then he sends this blast of energy down, and then basically, now I'm gonna get into with the Megazord battle. I kind of skipped ahead there. I apologize. I skipped ahead. Anyway, basically what happens after that is they form the Megazord. I think it's because of the fact that Jason is still in the Dark Dimension, so they are using the Tyrannosaurus by remote control. So, anyway, continuing on with what I was saying. After the Green Ranger is surprised by that, he shoots out a blast of energy at their Megazord, but the Megazord's Mastodon shield manages to deflect it, and then basically the Green Ranger tells them that they haven't seen the last of him. And then Rita says that she will not accept defeat. And then Squad is trying to reassure Rita that she hasn't lost yet. Goldar she still has Jason, and then Squad tells Rita that Goldar still has Jason trapped. And then she says that Squat's right. And then basically she yells Goldar's name, and then Jason keeps trying to contact the rest of the Power Rangers. I was actually getting ahead when I did the thing where he asked Jason if he had the power morpher he could get out. I was skipping ahead. That's not going to happen until the end of the second. That's not going to happen until the end of the third part, I think. Actually, I don't. And then basically, he says he may still toy with, after Rita yells Goldar's name, and Jason still tries to contact the others using the communicator, and then Goldar says that continue to call his friends because without them he is nothing, but then again he is only human, and no human is a match for Goldar, who must now obey the call of his Empress. And then he brings out his sword again, and then basically what happens after that is he may still toy with Jason before he disposes of him, but then again he may not. And then basically what happens after that then Goldar is telling Jason that if he had his power morpher, he could get out of there. And then Jason asks him what's his point. And then basically, but before I finish this part, what I'm gonna tell you guys is after that, they still need Zach and the other Rangers tell Alpha that they still need to find Jason because they need him. Because that green guy was a lot stronger this time around. I think that was because of the Sword of Darkness, but that's my opinion. And like I always told you guys with every series I've done, including this, YouTube is about people's opinions, and that's my opinion of it. Everyone's allowed their opinions, and that's basically my opinion, as I told you guys countless times with every YouTube series I've done so far. Anyway, continuing on with what I was saying earlier, Goldar says that if Jason had his power morpher, he could get out, and then Jason asks him what his point is, and then he tells him to come and take it if he's brave enough. And then after that, he said that, then Goldar said that and now he thinks he's finally ready to end this game, and that ends part 2. Now I'm going to get into talking about part 3. Now, part 3 is significant in the fact that it introduces a side antagonist, another minion that's going to work alongside Rita. She's known as Scorpina. I just thought I'd mention that very quickly. Now, the reason she's called that is because she's a scorpion-based creature. And then basically, what happens is Goldar said that he's had so much fun and he's been enjoying torturing Jason like this with so much fun. He's almost sad to see it end, but when his Empress commands, he obeys. And then he takes a swipe at Jason with his sword, and then he disappears, and then Goldar starts looking for Jason. And then, while he's looking for him, Goldar says that Jason's only prolonging the inevitable. Show himself, give up, he'll be merciful. And then Rita basically says that now that Goldar has Jason right where she wants him, it's time for her to call on her old friend Scorpina. She's gonna make mincemeat out of the Power Rangers starting today. And then she does this little incantation where she summons Scorpina, who's a friend of hers, and then basically afterward, she said that comes Scorpina, and she tells Green Ranger to come as well, make her evil, unstoppable. And then basically what happens after that is, then it goes into where it is in the youth center. And basically what happens after that is Kimberly asks Tommy if he's seen Jason, and then he says that as a matter of fact, he waited for Jason after school, he didn't show. And then he said that, and let him guess, she's worried, right? That's what she does best. And then then he leaves, and then Zach said that he checked around, nobody's seen Jason. Nobody's seen Jason, and then because what they did at the beginning of the episode of this part is they tried to look for him because they didn't know where he was. So that's why Zach said that he checked around, nobody's seen him. And after that, Kimberly basically tells Zach that it's funny. Tommy said that he waited for Jason after school, but he never showed. And Zach said that that's bogus because he knows Jason was there. And then Kimberly said that maybe he talked to Tommy then because Tommy probably thinks that he's just making this stuff up so that she'll have something to talk to him about. And basically what happens after that is they go follow him, and then somehow Goldar mentions to Rita that Pink Ranger suspects something. And she takes a look through her repulsor scope, and she realizes that Kimberly and Zach are trying to mess with Tommy, so she sends the putties down to deal with them. And then while they're fighting the putties, after they fight him, after they fight the putties, Kimberly says that it's weird the putties didn't even attack him. And then Rita's voice is telling Tommy that it's, as his Green Ranger form, that it's time. And then it goes back into where Goldar is in the dark dimension with Jason. And Jason is telling him that he's not begging him for mercy because he knows he'll never grant it. And then the Green Ranger shows up, and then basically what happens after that is Goldar says that he thought Rita wanted him to destroy him, and the Green Ranger tells Goldar that Rita wanted that pleasure to be his and ordered him personally to see to his end. And then Goldar disappears, and then the Green Ranger says that they meet again, and then he brings the sword out. And then basically what happens is, then it goes back into with Rita's palace, and Babu basically says that when he thinks about all the terrible things Scorpina used to do, and then Squat says that, oh yes, they were the worst. Oh my god. And then basically what happens is after that, Rita said that they remember now it's the perfect time to bring her back. And then basically what happens after that is, after she appears in the palace, Babu is telling her to please do him a favor and keep her stinger away from him. The time she got him on because apparently the time she got him on the head, he whined for about a week. Oh my god. And now that they are together again, nothing can stop them from taking over the earth and crushing the Power Rangers. And that's Goldar that says it. And then basically afterward, what happens is Jason and the Green Ranger start fighting, because still at this point they don't know who the Green Ranger is quite yet. And then basically, but at the end of the 4th part and at the beginning of the 5th part, they'll find out who it is. I just thought I'd mention that since I'm kind of getting close to the end of this 5-part episode, which is, like I said, is going to be one long video. Because as you can probably see, it's an hour and 8 minutes long. But the reason why I stated that, again, is because it's a 5-part video. So I wanted to make sure I could cover all 5 parts in one video, so that, because if I did 2 separate videos for each part, it would take way too long still. So again, I just wanted to get that out of the way one last time there. And then after that, the Green Ranger starts fighting Jason in the dark dimension after Goldar leaves, and then the Green Ranger said that Jason is a skilled warrior, and then Jason said that let's end this, he doesn't want to fight him because he knows he'll win, because the Green Ranger said that he knows he'll win and stuff. And then basically what happens after that is he says no, because if he really was a Ranger, well, what happens first is, when they first meet in the dark dimension, Jason said that the Green Ranger wears a Ranger costume, but his loyalty's with Rita. And basically he says that he's her Green Ranger and she is his Empress. And then basically Jason said that Rita is evil, and Green Ranger said that he's right and so is he. And then basically they start fighting each other, and then after they fight each other for a little bit, the Green Ranger said that Jason is a skilled warrior, and then Jason said that let's end this because he doesn't want to fight him, and the Green Ranger thinks it's because Jason knows the Green Ranger will win, and then, after Jason said that if he really was a Ranger, he'd be on Zordon's side and not Rita's. And then after that, basically what happens is, after that, basically what happens after that is they continue fighting, and then later on, Alpha gets a lock on Jason's energy signature and manages to teleport him out of the dark dimension. And then basically what happens is, which is kind of good because the Green Ranger was almost gonna slice and dice him with the Sword of Darkness. So Alpha teleported Jason out in the nick of time, and then basically what happens is when he shows up back at the command center, he tells them that was close. Green Ranger almost sliced and diced him, and then Billy wonders about the Green Ranger, and then basically, Jason says that he's got a lot to fill them in on. They won't believe what happened. And then it goes back into where the dark dimension is. And then Goldar is getting mad with the Green Ranger. He said that the Green Ranger had the Red Ranger at his mercy and he let him escape. And then the Green Ranger tells Goldar that he was teleported out. And then he had more than enough time to dispose of him. And Rita trusted him. But as it turns out, she should have left him there to finish the job. And then he says, give him another chance, and he promises he'll destroy them. And then basically, he may get Goldar says that the Green Ranger may get a chance to prove himself, but for now, he will remain where he is in the dark dimension. And then after that, Jason is basically telling the other Rangers about what happened back at school, and then when he mentions the thing with Tommy, Kimberly said that, wait a minute, he said they were at school, and Zach said that Tommy didn't show up, and Jason says that that's weird, and then basically what happens is after that, the next thing he knows, he's fighting Goldar, and he's got his power morpher. And then the Green Ranger shows up, and they go at it. And then basically what happens after that is Zach is wondering, Billy's wondering, did they find out anything more about him? And then Jason says that basically they can tell him one thing, he's one mean fighter. And then basically Zach said that, man, can you believe it, that their enemy, he still can't believe that their enemy this time is another Ranger and stuff. And then after that, the alarm at the command center goes off again. And then basically what happens is after that, the alarm at the command center goes off, and then they realize that Scorpina is attacking the warehouse district, and then Alpha tells them to beware of Scorpina's sting. So they morph to fight her, and then basically what happens after that is she sends the putties to fight him, and then basically, then it goes to where Rita is, and then she tells her minions that the battle is grand, and for the once they're actually winning. And then Goldar reminds Rita that although Scorpina is a warrior, she is greatly outnumbered. She must be called back before it's too late. And then they continue fighting, and then she does this leap onto a building, and then it goes back into where Rita is in her palace, and she's asking Squad if she's prettier than Scorpina, and then after that, Scorpina and Goldar are having a bit of an argument, and then after that, they're all arguing as to who should handle the job of destroying the Rangers, and then basically Rita silences the discussion by saying that Goldar should be the one to do it, and she's basically saying that while Goldar is doing that, she'll be busy working on a spell to cast to cause an eclipse, which will drain the Megazord of its solar power, and then afterward, basically what happens is after that, she says that she's such a genius. Actually, she says that sometimes she's so evil she can't stand herself. And then basically what happens after that is after she sends Goldar down to trash the city to attract the Rangers, Rangers notice that Goldar is trashing the city. And then basically what happens after that is Zack says that it could be a trap, and then Jason says that they don't have a choice. And then they morph, and that ends part 3. Now I'm getting into the last 2 parts. So now I'm on part 4. Now this part continues from where part 3 left off. You see, when they what happens first is they try to morph in the command center to fight Goldar. But then there's this weird electrical charge, and then basically what happens is Alpha tries to figure out what that electrical charge came from, and he says that it's a interdimensional beam caused by an interdimensional disruption caused by the beam trying to locate Zordon. It's shutting down. Basically what the beam is doing is it's shutting down every piece of electronic equipment inside the command center and throughout the morphing grid. And Billy wonders if there's anything they can do. And Alpha says that not until the power surge ends, and then Zack says that you can't let Goldar trash the world, and they gotta do. There's gotta be some. He said that there's gotta be something, and then Alpha says that basically there's nothing he can do, and then Jason says that if they can't morph, Goldar's gonna trash the world. And then it goes back to where Rita is with her minions, and then Finster is saying that they have giant Goldar trashing the city to attract the Power Rangers' attention. And then after they do that, once they do get their attention, she's gonna start the solar eclipse to drain Megazord of its power to destroy them. And then Finster basically said that instead of using one of his monsters to destroy the Rangers, she's probably going to use the Green Ranger. And then basically what happens after that is she says yes, and then basically what happens is they manage to, then the power surge apparently is over because of the beam, and then basically what happens is Alpha manages to locate Zordon, and he says about the Green Ranger, and then And then basically, they lose him again, and then Zach said that in that brief second he was back, he was trying to tell them something about the Green Ranger, and then basically they go to fight Goldar in the Megazord, and then later on what happens is the Green Ranger shows back up, and then he enters the command center again, and he manages to finish the job he did with Zordon. And basically what happens is, after he does that, Alpha comes back online because of his backup generators. Look, I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead, but I'm getting close to the end of this 5-part episode anyway, so I figured I might as well skip the non-important stuff, but I will mention it very quickly, some of the non-important stuff. I just want to focus on the main stuff for this 5-part episode since I'm getting close to the end of it anyway, so might as well. And then getting back into it with the Alpha, after he said that Zordon tells Alpha that he's in Sector Q9, and he tries to locate him, and then the Green Ranger shows up, and then Zordon tries to warn Alpha that the Green Ranger is behind him, and then basically he manages to disconnect Alpha again, and he tries to finish the job. And he said that once Rita wins, evil will rule the world, and then basically Zordon said that evil will never rule, and then basically the Green Ranger said that it will. He's just got to finish the job with him, and his team doesn't stand a chance. And then afterward, Alpha comes back online, and then basically what happens after that is, when he does come back online, he has the computer put a force field around the intruder, which was the Green Ranger. And the Green Ranger said that he thought he disabled Alpha, and then Alpha said that he did, but his backup generators kicked in. And then Alpha tries to get Zordon back after what the Green Ranger did, but he fails, and then it goes into, because you see, while Goldar was trashing the city, the patrons were trying to evacuate from the youth center, but Bulk didn't want Skull to leave because he hadn't been finishing his ice cream. But then when a girder started falling, he starts he finishes eating his ice cream fast, and then they go in the youth center bus. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry because I skipped ahead a little bit. Anyway, afterward, then Goldar manages to get his hands on the bus that has Bulk and Skull inside it, and then basically what happens after that is, basically Rita tells, after Goldar finds the bus, and then Jason freaks out because he says about the civilians inside the bus, and then Goldar said that actually they're friends of theirs. He believes he called them Bulk and Skull. Oh my god, because Bulk and Skull were driving the youth center bus in order to get rid of the in order to get away from Goldar, which didn't kind of work out. And basically, Jason's telling Goldar to put the bus down, but not until they surrender to he says that not until they surrender to Rita. And then basically, when the Green Ranger is trapped inside the force field, well, first what happens is the putties send the bus over the edge, so the Rangers go into the Megazord to retrieve the bus and put it back on safe ground. And then afterward, what happens after that is basically they use a spell. Rita uses a spell to free the Green Ranger from the containment field that Alpha had put him in, and then she uses her magic wand to make the Green Ranger grow, and then they start fighting the Green Ranger, and then after that, basically what happens after that is, while they're fighting the Green Ranger and the others, and Scorpina and Goldar as well, Rita starts the eclipse, and then after that which drains their solar power, because apparently the Megazord is ran on solar energy, which is by sunlight. And then basically what happens after that is, afterwards she manages to eject the Rangers from their Zords and send them back into the magma and stuff. And then afterward, the Rangers are upset about that because he says that it's like Rita, Zach says that it's like Rita destroyed a part of them. And then Billy says that the Zords were always there when they needed them, and now they're gone. And Trini said that now they're gone just when they need them most. And then it goes into where they're in the command center, and then the others are wanting to give up, but Jason tells them not to give up because there's a slight chance of hope. And after Alpha is trying to reassure them that he cannot accept that if they give up, and he knows Zordon would not accept that. And then basically what happens after that is Kimberly wonders why shouldn't they? The Zords are gone. Zordon's gone. The Megazord's been destroyed. They're outmatched. And then basically what happens is Jason tries to reassure the others that even isn't the slightest chance for victory a reason to keep fighting. The world needs them. And then Zach tries to convince Jason that the Green Ranger was Rita's trump card. She played it and she won. And then basically, Alpha says that the computer has finally got an answer, because when the Green Ranger was trapped inside the electronic force field, the computer was able to find his biospatial vibrations, which means the computer knows his identity. So Billy programs the computers to show who it is on the viewing globe, and then they're all surprised by that they find out it's Tommy. And then basically, then this leads into the final part of the 5-part episode. Basically what happens is, afterward, they're trying to figure out how the thing is Tommy, and then Alpha is saying that the computer matched his interspatial bio-vibrations with the Green Rangers, and then Zach is basically saying that the computer has also been under repair, which is kind of true because it was kind of trashed a bit. And then Billy says that that's not likely. Alpha corrected the malfunction, and then Zach is kind of upset because he's wondering how could Tommy do that to them. And then basically, Alpha is saying that Rita must have cast a spell on Tommy and is controlling his mind. And then Jason says that, see, they can't give, he tells them that he was right, they can't give up because they gotta find a way to break Rita's spell and save Tommy. And then basically what happens after that is, then it goes back, then it goes to where Rita, well, then it goes back into where the Rangers are in their human forms in the youth center, and then Ernie is watching the TV screen and he says, can he believe this is happening? He tells Kimberly that he asks her, could she believe this is happening? And she says she knows it's terrible. And he says, thank goodness for the Power Rangers. And then basically what happens after that is Kimberly is telling Ernie, has he seen Tommy? And he says, the new guy, right? And he points out that he's working right over there. And then Kimberly goes over to Tommy. And then basically she says that she knows he's the Green Ranger. And he says that, well, Pink Ranger, you should also know that you and your friends are about to be destroyed. And then after she tries to reason with them to get them to help him, he tells her that she and her friends have been warned. And then it goes into where Rita is, and then Squad is basically complaining by saying that they haven't seen the Dragon Zord in over 10,000 years. Over 10,000 years. Over 10,000 years, and then Goldar says, quiet. If his Empress chooses to bring the Dragon Zord forth, then it will be called forth. And then she uses her magic staff to bring the Dragon Zord out from the water. And then afterward, Tommy in his Ranger form is saying that he jumps aboard the Dragon Zord, and he says that all this will belong to Empress Rita once he and his Zord put down the Power Rangers forever. And then it goes into where the other Rangers are with Kimberly, and Jason said that she found Tommy, and she said that his eyes were glowing green. It was very freaky. And he says that he's got to be under one of Rita's spells. Actually, and she says that he's definitely out to get them. And she also tells them that Tommy has known all along who they are, that they're the Power Rangers and stuff. And then Jason says that he's got to be under one of Rita's spells because of his eyes glowing green and stuff. And then they come to the realization that they're figuring out why the putties didn't attack him, why he's been acting so weird and stuff. And then Trini shows, and then Billy says that this is finally all starting to make sense. And then Trini comes to the rest of the Rangers, and she's out of breath, and she's saying that, and the rest of them are wondering what's wrong. And then Trini says that it's all over the radio. There's trouble in Angel Grove, it's all over the radio. A monster is attacking the business district. And then Jason says that basically Rita's not going to give up, so they morph into their Ranger forms. And then they try to convince Tommy to stop doing what he's doing because he's under effect of one of Rita's spells. And then later on, Jason tells Tommy that this can't be happening, and he tells Tommy that he doesn't know what he's doing, and then Tommy says that he's destroying them, and he's doing it because his Empress commands him to. Soon she'll rule the world and stuff. And then basically what happens is Alpha manages to locate Zordon in Sector Q9 because that's the sector of space that he told Alpha where his coordinates were. And then he manages to locate him and free him from where he was. And then basically what happens after that is afterward, Zordon is telling Alpha that the Rangers need their Zords, and then Alpha says that the Zords are gone. The Green Ranger took their powers away, and then Zordon says to Alpha that by destroying Rita's Sword of Darkness, they can break her hold on Tommy, and then their morphers start glowing, and which causes their Zords to be brought back to life. And then what happens is they go into the Megazord, and then they start fighting Tommy in the Megazord, and then basically what happens is after that, afterward, Jason is telling Tommy to give up, and he says, no way. But then, basically what happens is, after that, Jason says that he's sorry it has to be like this, but Zordon says he's got to destroy his sword to save him. So, Jason and Tommy fight one-on-one. And then afterward, they manage to destroy his sword and free him from Rita's spell. And then Rita gets upset that she lost. Well, what happens first, though, is after that, the rest of the Rangers demorph, and then Zack is kind of excited because they destroyed Rita's sword, which means her spell on Tommy is broken. And then Tommy basically says, well, what happens is Jason goes over to where Tommy is, and then he says that, is he okay? And he says that he's not. He tried to destroy his friends. And then Jason says that basically what he did was under Rita's influence. He owns the power now. Will he use it to fight with them and stuff? And then basically what happens is he joins them, and then Alpha and Zordon are looking at the viewing goal because they're excited about that. And then they had good reason to be, because apparently there's a prophecy, and then Zordon says that finally the prophecy has been fulfilled. The 6th Ranger is one of them. And then they do this first morphing scene where it's the 6 of them. Because the 6th Ranger is now one of them and stuff. So, yeah, so that's kind of why it's like that. And then they say these things in their Ranger forms. Jason says that they're back and they're better than ever. And Tommy in his Ranger form says that basically 6 working together to fight evil. And Zack says to stop Rita. And Billy says, and all are menacing monsters. And then Trini says, from destroying their planet Earth. And Kimberly finally says, and ruining the universe with evil. And then Jason says that, look, he tells Rita to look out because they're not backing down, because they're the Power Rangers. And then afterward, Zordon contacts the Rangers through Tommy's flute, because he tells them that with their new friend comes new power. He wants Tommy to use his flute to bring the Dragon Zord back, because When the Dragon Zord combines with the Mastodon, the Triceratops, and the Saber-toothed Tiger Dinozords, a new battle vehicle will be at their disposal, which is basically Dragon Zord in fighting mode. And then after they're surprised by that, and then later on, Rita gets upset that she lost her Green Ranger, and then basically Goldar is assuring her that he promises that Zordon and his Power Rangers will be made to pay. And then basically what happens is after that, it goes back into where they're in the command center, and Jason is telling Zordon that they're glad that he's back because morale was really down without. Billy said that morale was really down without him, and then Zordon says that the fact is that despite the overwhelming odds, they acted like true superheroes and persevered through it. And then basically what happens is after that, Trini says that they basically have a lot to thank because of Alpha, and then Zordon is basically telling Alpha that he displayed valuable leadership roles in leadership in his absence, and he's proud of him for that. And then Alpha starts getting a little blushed, and basically afterward, Zordon is basically welcoming Tommy, and he tells them that now that he's become a true Power Ranger, he must follow 3 specific rules or lose the protection of the power, which is basically the 3 same rules he had the first 5 Rangers follow in the same episode, which is number 1, first, never use his Ranger power for his own personal gain. Second, never escalate the battle unless the enemy forces them to. And third, and most importantly, keep their identities as Rangers secret. No one could know, keep his identity as a Ranger secret. No one could know he's a Power Ranger. And then basically what happens is after that, Tommy says that Zordon can count on him 100%. And then basically Billy presents him a gift because apparently they made him a communicator. And then Tommy's thanking him for that, and then Zordon is basically saying that a new chapter has begun, Rangers, and may the power protect them. And then they put their hands together and they do this thing where they jump into the air and say Power Rangers, and that's basically where this epic 5-part episode ends. So if you guys like this video on YouTube when I post it today, just please give it the real best you guys can. And I will see you guys maybe next week for the first videos after this 5-part saga. So until then, guys, like I always tell you with this series, may the power protect you always.